Hi everyone. This video is about adding and subtracting fractions, just fractions work. From the previous video, I'm sure you guys have learned how to add or subtract fractions or combine fractions. This one is just a bunch of problems for you guys to work on, and I'll go over them in different steps. So the first one, first question we're going to do is 3 plus 5, or 3 over 5, sorry, 3 over 5 plus 4 over 6. So at this time, I would ask you to just pause the video, try this question out. Make sure that when you're looking at this kind of question, you know that this is a combining fractions question. This is you have a fraction here, you have an add and a fraction. So the first thing you want to do is to get common denominators. So you want to pause this, give it a try. So at this point, I think you have completed this question and see if you got this right. So since this is a combining fractions, you have 5 and 6 as your denominator, you want to find a common denominator. So the best guarantee way is to really just to multiply these numbers together. So if you look at these two numbers multiplied together, so 5 times 6, so 5 times 6, this is 30, and 6 times 5 is 30. The reason why we multiply together, because when you're multiplying these two numbers together, you always would get the same number. That's, in our case, we get 30. Sometimes if you have other numbers that are similar but they're smaller, you might even be able to find a number that has a smaller denominator. But we'll go over that after. So let's rewrite this. So our common denominator is going to be 30. And then we're going to replace this sign with the add, the positive sign. We're going to put 30 at the bottom. So here's the step a lot of people forget, is like, well, what did we do with the numerator? Well, remember, these fractions, what we just did is we're just finding the equivalent fraction, the same fraction. So if we multiply the bottom number by 6, whatever we do to the bottom, we just have to do it to the top. So this is 3 times 6. So 3 times 6 is going to be 18. And likewise for the other fraction, 6 was multiplied by 5. Not 6, but by 5. So this top number has to be multiplied by 5 as well. So this is going to be 20. 4 times 5 is 20. So last thing you need to know is that, well, since these two denominators are exactly the same, you just have to add the top numbers, which is 18 plus 20, which gives you final answer of 38 over 30. And a lot of times I ask my students to reduce. So what does reducing mean? Well, reducing basically just represents how can you rewrite this fraction into the same one, but in a smaller number. A good number to try for all fractions when you're reducing is divide both of them by 2. The number 2 is just an arbitrary number where most of the time it will work. Not all of them, but most of the numbers will be divisible by 2. So it's a good number to start. So if we were to divide this by 2, I don't even know if 38 divides by 2. I think it's 19. And then if we divide 30 by 2, it gives us 15. Basically, this 19 over 15, my dog is barking, 19 over 15 is exactly the same size as 30 over 30, except that 30 has a lot more smaller pieces if we were to draw this in a pie, whereas 15 would be a larger piece if we were to draw this entire pie, like a circle. Well, that's not really much of a circle, but that's what that means. Okay, so that's the first question. If we try another question, let me just start over here. The second question we'll do is that we'll play with some brackets and signs. So if we have a negative 5 over 6, close bracket, minus negative 2 over 3. So try this one out right now and see what you get. So when you have completed this, when you look at this question, you see that there is a bracket here, there's a sign in the bracket. And you see there's a negative and a negative sign. The first thing I would do is I always encourage people to combine these two brackets and simplify this into the next step. So since there are two negative signs, that makes it positive. I didn't do anything to the 2 over 3. I'm just going to rewrite the 2 over 3 and an equal. And then now here you have a negative sign and a bracket. And there are no signs here. But basically if there are no signs after a bracket, it's a positive number. Okay, because a lot of people don't really write the positive number, because whenever we write numbers like number 2, we don't write positive 2, but we know it's a 2, it's a positive 2. Likewise with this, there is an invisible positive. So a negative and a positive will give you a negative. We didn't do anything to this fraction, so it's 5/6. So this becomes my new question, negative 5/6 plus 2/3. So it's the same thing as before. It's combining fractions. You need to find the common denominator. So I'm just going to rewrite everything, the fractions set up. Equals, and I have a negative sign, so I'm going to write my negative sign like that. So what is my common denominator? Well, there's a couple of options. You can either multiply these two numbers together to get a guaranteed common denominator, or you can find another number that both of these numbers can go into. Well, 6 is the larger number, so we're going to start with that. So how can we get this 3 into 6, or is there a possible way? Well, there is a possible way, because if we were to multiply 3 by 2, that gives us 6. That means the number 2 is our multiple. So our new common denominator is 6 at the bottom, and then we didn't do anything to the 5, so we're going to leave it at the top. So this was unchanged. This, however, was changed. So 3 multiplied by 2 is 6. And whatever we did at the bottom, we have to do it to the top. So 2 times 2 is 4. So there you go. So we have the same common denominators. Now the new question here is, don't get confused here, because it's not just 5 plus 4, but rather it's minus 5 plus 4. So this is going to be negative 1/6. So that's how you do these questions. So give those a try, more practice, and I will give you another question after this. Yeah, so this is going to be a third question. This one is going to involve some negative numbers, but also a mixed fraction. So this one is going to be negative 3, 5/2, plus 2 and 5/3. So you notice that these two are mixed numbers. So what do? We're going to go and change this into an improper fraction first, which we do that by 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 5, which gives us 11. The denominator will always stay the same. Don't forget the negative sign. And then we're going to change the second one. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 5 is 11/3. And don't forget the positive sign. So now basically we just changed all this kind of confusing stuff into two more simple versions. This is just another one of those combination questions. So set this up, get your common denominator, which is 2 times 3. So I'm just going to change color. 2 times 3 is 6 and 6. So this is going to be multiplied by 3. This is multiplied by 2. The bottom I multiplied by 3, so I'm going to multiply by 3 at the top. So that's 33. At the bottom, I multiply by 2, so I multiply by 2 at the top. This is 22. So now we have negative 33 plus 22. So the answer is negative 11/6. And we can't really change this into, or reduce this anymore, but we can, however, change this into a mixed number, which is going to be 1 and 5/6. My dog is barking, telling us that we got the right answer. Isn't that right? So that's adding mixed numbers together. So don't forget to change it into improper fraction first, find common denominator, and that's it, like all the other ones. Thanks for watching.